Spring is here, and so is a great deal from AT&T. Get the Samsung Galaxy S6 for $0 down and get a free Samsung tablet. Springtime is savings time at AT&T.
They visit right mine and put a hand on the stock of my gun. Why you stir something up? We ain't reaching for breath on you. What does a guy like Cameron need? You know what? Get back to you guys. Sir, why are you back here? Why are we what's your number?
You should be safe.
We are fed up. And you know what? Nothing's going to change until we stop electing politicians, lawyers to office. That's the only thing. You elect Donald Trump, you put Donald Trump in office, he'll change it all. He'll get rid of these clowns. He'll get rid of these people that violate our rights. And we'll have somebody that actually cares about Americans again.
We had businesses just yards to the north of us burning. We had businesses to the south of us burning.
The images from a week ago were stunning as Ferguson burned. For so many business owners, it wasn't a matter of if their businesses would burn, but when.
When I walked into Natalie's door, she was extremely upset, and she looked at me and she started crying, and she said, you know, I can't believe you're going to help us. And she asked me, how much will this cost me? And I said, no, we're going to do this for free.
Natalie is the owner of this bakery on Florissant Avenue.
This here is Natalie's business.
The hardest hit stretch in Ferguson, Missouri.
My first step after talking to Natalie was actually to approach all of the other business owners and get a consensus. I started calling my friends in the military and in the police departments, and we need to put together a team and go up and help these people defend their businesses.
The first day, Oath Keepers put up plywood across all the windows.
That was the first day, yeah. That was to put the building in a little more defensible condition.
The next step, fire prevention.
We had a plan for that. You know, we had buckets of water up there, and we had fuel fire extinguishers, and so my guys would just pick up the fire bombs with their gloves on and throw them in the bucket of water and extinguish them. We are only here to protect the people, and we also have people living in apartments above these businesses. So for this particular block of buildings, arson is a lethal threat because there's people living upstairs.
For a week, these volunteers with Oath Keepers protected 6 businesses and the apartments above them in the most violent area of Ferguson. Oath Keepers were there, even though National Guard troops who had already been called up had been deployed to areas outside of Ferguson, like the prosecutor's office in Clayton. Governor Jay Nixon on the first night left these business owners on their own.
That's the truth on the first night. You know, the storyline, the truth, the facts, is that they had over 2 months to prepare for this. Why the National Guard was not here supporting the St. Louis County Police and supporting the Highway Patrol and protecting these businesses, to me, is either such a grotesque incompetence or downright criminal negligence.
Despite their volunteer efforts and success in protecting businesses, the Oath Keepers have not been embraced by many of the higher-ups within local police departments or by federal law enforcement.
On Thursday night, they surrounded our building with over 50 men and told us to get off the roof and put our arms down or they would arrest us. A security operation is how they termed it to me.
What does that mean? A security operation? So you're basically security guards because you're on the roof?
Well, that's what they're claiming. But if you read the statute, and English words still mean what they mean, it clearly says if you are employed by a corporation as a security personnel, and there's 3 or 4 different descriptions of different types of security personnel, they all have the word employed in it because they have to. You can't regulate volunteers.
Sam says a former Marine who was on his team also spotted a 3-man sniper team taking position and pointing rifles at the Oath Keepers. It is law enforcement leadership that Sam says that's trying to push Oath Keepers out, despite the fact that they are in this community and working for the rights of everyone.
We're from Oath Keepers. Just wanted you to know we're here to protect you guys. We're about supporting everybody's rights. And so don't let the media lie about us. Tell the truth. We love everybody and we care about everybody.
Just to make sure that they're left alone.
I mean, if you're armed, why can't the protesters be armed?
That's sufficient. I am.
You should come out here and
hey,
black
sir.
Again, I'm in here in Missouri, yes.
But sir, if you armed, why can't the protesters be armed? I mean, doesn't the Second Amendment apply to them too?
They were. There was a group of brothers were protecting buildings last go around, and they were left alone, whereas we were set upon.
What about protecting black people?
DOJ said that we were
Who set upon you?
Law enforcement.
Law
did.
enforcement did.
Whether it was the Highway Patrol or it was all under the instigation of the Department of Justice.
Let me ask you this: what do you think about? You talked about your opinion on Black Lives Matter. What do you think about our mulatto president, as you described him? What is your feeling on our mulatto president?
We could get into issues about his biographer and his wife and he himself before he attained to that office, talking about having been born in Kenya. So all of a sudden that's no longer an issue, and the Democrats and Republicans all went along with it. You know, he's a very intelligent man.
Do you think he's a secret Muslim?
You know, I understand from blow-ups of the ring that he wears, it appears to be some type of Muslim ring.
You realize he's bombed 14 Muslim countries, but
you know, what can you say?
What can you say?
What can you say?
And could you say specifically what are you guarding?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Write it down.
RT, question more.
Police are still acting violently towards us. I mean, we've seen in St. Louis, we've seen a number of black people killed since Michael Brown was killed. In fact, going all the way back to 2013, we've seen a trend of about every 2 months a black person is killed by police in St. Louis. And so when the police are acting violently like this, we must continue to protest. Protests have continued. We've seen some changes over the past year. Most notably, a civilian review board has passed, but more work clearly needs to be done in order to prevent the sort of militarized and really over-policed presence that we saw before the events of yesterday that clearly inflamed tensions. There's an entire system in place that has been built over decades, if not generations, that needs to be dismantled. We need to address police union contracts, for example, that in many ways have prevented civilian oversight from being effective and empowered. We need to address a culture that basically takes the police narrative for granted. I think we've made some progress on that. Now when people are killed by police, they're starting to question the story. But more work needs to be done. For example, you know, we saw events yesterday. People were very quick to immediately attribute the shootings to the boy who was killed. And we really don't know the facts. The investigation isn't complete. And yet people are very quick to blame what happened on the person who really experienced the most violence that day. We've seen the protests over the past year have taken place dozens and dozens and dozens of protests. The vast majority of those peaceful. I think that has continued just because there are a few outside agitators who may come in and try to disrupt the moments. And the work that is being done is not an indictment on the protesters. If anything, it shows that there is a resistance to clearly progress that is being made on both sides. I think really people are happy about some of the progress that's being made, are happy about community that's being built. And we're excited to continue to build and continue that work. We've seen them declare a state of emergency, which is very bad, because when you think about it, police in St. Louis kill black men at a rate higher than the U.S. murder rate. But yet when we see protests, sustained protests, that is considered an emergency. And I think that's precisely the problem. The police are really, really inflaming tensions by basically declaring a state of emergency. We saw yesterday how they responded with armored vehicles, again, really activating the traumas of communities. And I think when they do that, it really not only inflames tension, but it creates a context in which people don't feel safe. People feel like they have to get out of those situations. They have to fight back. They have to resist. And I think police should be making us feel safer instead of inflaming things. My work at mappingpoliceviolence.org actually collects comprehensive data on police killings. We've actually found more than 1,160 people were killed by police since August 9th. We've seen, but again, this isn't anything new. Over 1,000 people were killed by police in 2013, over 1,000 in 2014. And already more than 700 in 2015. And so we've seen a consistent pattern of violence towards us. That's what we're fighting to stop.